Today's episode begins in 2 minutes. So first, here's a preview of what's coming up, followed by a host and guest introduction.
You know, you've got this guy that was addicted to being a cop, and all of a sudden, as any father, you're gonna do anything for your daughter. And he's doing what he needs to do to keep her out of jail. He's at some points doing what he needs to do to put her in jail to try to get her clean. And one of the things she really wanted throughout her addiction was she was all about, man, if I could get clean, my dream would be to open a house for women. And she was struggling, couldn't get clean. Finally, Kevin had her arrested. And while she was in jail, Kevin said, hey, if you can stay clean for a full year, I'll build you the damn house. She made it 6 months, overdosed, and passed away. What made me have to make this movie was that in the wake of that, Kevin and his wife, Dana, they went on to build what is today Brooke's house, which has saved hundreds of women off the street. And then he now saves Brooke's one at a time up at this house. He turned in his badge, and it's an amazing place up there.
This is the Good Grief, Good God show, featuring raw, honest conversation about surviving things that suck, available in audio and on YouTube. I'm producer Matt Pivito. Your host, songwriter Brad Warren of the Warren Brothers, has written songs recorded by artists including Tim McGraw and Faith Hill to Taylor Swift and Leonard Skinner, with 9 reaching #1. But Brad's purpose goes far beyond songwriting. Shaped by Brad's lived experience, including 20 years in sobriety, and created in honor of Brad and Michelle's son Sage, who was tragically lost to fentanyl poisoning in 2020, this show offers a space for guests to share deeply personal stories of resilience, hope, and faith, and even a little laughter along the way. For today's episode, Brad welcomes actor, writer, and director Jake Allyn, best known for his roles as Bo John Folsom on BET's The Quad, Ryan Taylor on Amazon Prime's The Baxters, and as the writer, director, and lead actor of the rodeo drama The Ride. Today, Jake sits down with Brad to discuss Clean Hands, a film he's writing and directing, inspired by a true story that reshaped his understanding of justice and addiction. Told through Jake's lens, the film follows a veteran police officer whose faith in the system collapses when it cannot save his daughter, Brooke. After her tragic death, that loss gives rise to Brooke's House, a recovery home built on dignity, hope, and second chances for women seeking a new life. To learn more about today's guest in the show, check the description or visit goodgriefgoodgodshow.com. This episode is presented by Songwriter City, where the songwriters take center stage. Their shows blend hits with the powerful stories behind them, creating unforgettable experiences. Book your favorite songwriter, including the Warren Brothers, at your next event by visiting songwritercity.com. Executive producers Brad and Michelle Warren, and segment producer Lisa Bolt.
This ride had to do on a much different level, had to do with addiction. And I've been very surprised by how open a lot of AA groups have been to me, and places like Brooke's House. I mean, Brooke's House, my involvement, I know we probably should wait to do this all on camera.
No, we'll
you know, when I first am calling a AA group or a place like Brooke's House, and you're basically asking, hey, do you mind if I come to your very intimate, private group of healing and like basically
and research all your
the
shit.
life, you know what I mean? Yeah, you know, I always feel like I feel like a vampire here, you know? But it's like, to your point about being a badge, it's part of their recovery, and
you know,
telling their
there's
stories
open groups and
everything,
closed
you know?
groups or whatever. And my particular like home group in it is open group, and so I just bring guests. I have one of my great friends who I won't blow out on this is an amazing therapist and not an alcoholic, but he comes to my meetings just as an addict for being addicted to people. And he said there's more red meat in this meeting than any church service or therapy session I've ever been in my life. Yeah. I stand by that. I totally agree. So I do find it. I had the whole process to be a superpower. I've never met anyone that couldn't use the 12 steps.
Right.
It's just,
I told Kevin one time, because I've been up to Brooke's House now a couple different times.
What state is that in, by the way?
It's in Maryland. North
Okay.
Maryland.
That's right.
And I told him one time, because I went up there right after Christmas once and stayed from like the 26th to like the 3rd or 4th writing. And I told him, just so you know, like half the reason I came here was just like to reset my body and soul before the year. Like I didn't actually have that much to write this time around. And I mean, I just was like, I don't know. I felt like I didn't want to go do the New Year's Eve partying thing. I felt like I just wanted to go into the new year like that way. And
that's awesome. It means you're probably a really healthy person if that's attractive to you at all. The inpatient rehab, I never did that. I did outpatient rehab, was good. And I've always thought, man, can I just go back in and act like I just got sober and just do 90 days? You know what I mean?
A movie about that.
You know what I mean?
Like a guy who's just kind of like having a moment in his life.
Like
who's maybe already sober.
Class, but I don't, that would sound like I know what I'm doing. But, literally all the information I've heard a million times. But I would like to go in and just reset. Just faking being an alcoholic, but really being an alcoholic, just not having drank in 20 years.
Yeah.
That'd be interesting. How do you do that?
That'd be a great TV show.
So Jake Allyn, how did you get into this whole thing? Where are you from? I mean, you're from Texas, right?
From Dallas, born and raised in Dallas. Played football my whole life. Ended up playing football at Cornell.
Maybe you've heard of it.
And then I did the full triangle, moved out to Los Angeles afterward. My older brother, when I was in college, was getting into directing, writing movies, producing. And so I was at school and he was sending me, like I remember one day in particular, he sent me a video of a movie that he was doing where Mickey Rourke had like an RPG and was like RPGing a building. And I was like, that's what you're doing? You got paid to like go film that? Yeah. And I remember like in cold Ithaca, New York being like, I want to move to Hollywood. What am I doing? So I moved to Los Angeles after. I spent about 10 and a half, almost 11 years there, traveling for work and shoots and movies and stuff like that, but living in LA. And then I was lucky enough, and I definitely think it was the big man at work, but I came and did 2 movies back to back in Nashville. Totally separate films, which like never happens that they shoot in the same location. But these 2 movies both shot here in Nashville, and then I just basically never left.
Wow. Ride and what other movie?
Ride and Someone Like You, which we made. I stayed in Brentwood, but made mostly in Franklin with Karen Kingsbury. I don't know if that name rings a bell for you guys in Brentwood, but she lives maybe 10 minutes away from here. She's a very prolific, I think you would call her a Christian novelist, inspirational romance
the name's
novelist.
Kind of familiar. Okay.
Yeah, she's made, I don't know, 50 plus books. I did a series just as an actor called The Baxters, which was an Amazon TV show based on like this book series that she has about this family that sprawls, I think, 20 plus books or something like that. And so I was in that show, and that's how I met her. And then she ended up doing this movie, and I tagged along.
I always find this fascinating. Guys that get into either music or entertainment, whatever. The guys that play in team sports, are the guys that I always want to work with. You know what I mean? I want guys in my band that played team sports. Yeah. Because if you didn't, I don't know.
Absolutely. I learned so much more. I learned so much more from playing football my whole life than I did at that Ivy League school that I just mentioned. Oh, yeah. And it was good school and good professors and good books. If you're getting a
real job, it's probably a great school, right?
Yeah, that's a good point. Touche. But yeah, and especially, I don't know as much about the music industry, but with filmmaking, you go on a film set and it's a giant team sport. And particularly I find with football, you've got all these positions that when isolated, they're completely different from each other, but they have to work in complete unison. And I feel it's the exact same way with filmmaking, where I don't know anything about
to do your job, right?
Yeah, exactly. But we all gotta be a team.
Did you have any idea you were gonna act growing up?
Subconsciously.
Yeah.
I always tell the story that when I was in like 3rd grade, we had a talent show, and everybody was doing like Aaron Carter, NSYNC, all the go-to, 90s type hip hop deals for the talent show. And I came on with a kilt and a half painted blue face and did the monologue from Braveheart. At that moment, how did I not realize that I wanted to be an actor? That should have told me everything. But, when you're playing sports as a kid, acting and theater just isn't, they don't often go hand in hand, it's easy for me to go from football in the fall to basketball in the winter to baseball in the spring. There wasn't like, and then I'll do theater in the summer, and it just didn't work like that.
Football starts in the summer, baseball plays through the summer, and our boys played all 3 sports, especially our oldest really excelled at all 3 sports. He was always playing, and they would have never done any acting. But once you get out of school, honestly too, being in a band, it seems like it's really cool, but like in college, it is when you're junior high and your band's going to play for the chapel or whatever, our little crappy Christian school. It's nerve wracking. It's a little nerdy. Yeah, you know what I mean? This is not going to come off well. And it does take a little bit of a. I went to a little tiny private school that didn't have football. So I played basketball and soccer, which my boys made fun of me for playing soccer. I'm like, it's the number one sport in the world. I don't even like soccer, but I defended all the time because I played. But you definitely, at that moment, nothing really matters. But I started playing guitar when I was like 11 years old, and we started having bands, and some of my friends would tell my brother, "What's up with your brother, man? All he wants to do is play guitar." And I did, you kind of I was side smitten with it. And I was, of course it's more important to play good on Friday night at the game.
Right.
But Saturday morning I was playing guitar all day.
Yeah. It shows you. What are you doing when no one's looking? That's usually what you're meant to do for the long haul.
If no one's, that's good.
No one's looking.
Is your first love directing or acting?
Oh man. Directing has been a newfound love for me, to be honest. For me, it was very much started with acting. I started acting toward the end of college when I kind of realized the NFL was not looking for slow wide receivers. I was like, okay, I'm going to have a hole in me in about a couple of months when my senior season ends. What am I going to do then? What am I going to fill it with? And I walked into an acting class and I immediately felt the same energy that I did when I was playing football. Wow. And I think, like I said, my big brother was directing and writing movies. And so I kind of felt like acting was like a way to work with him and be connected to him and like follow in his footsteps without like just straight living in his shadow, because I knew I was never going to be, I knew I could never reach those heights that he was doing, Yeah.
Did he hook you up?
I remember the first line of dialogue I ever got in a movie. I was an extra in one of his movies, and Burt Reynolds was in it. It was one of Burt Reynolds' last movies. And it was like a party scene up in the Hollywood Hills. And I think Burt was having some struggles with his back that day. I hope I can say this. I don't quite know.
Yeah.
And they were like, it was supposed to be a big walk and talk. And Burt was like, I don't think I can do it. So all of a sudden they had all these lines of dialogue that they needed delivered, and they didn't have Burt Reynolds to do it. And they're like, I think we got to just give a couple of these lines to a couple different extras. My brother was like, I picked that guy, which was of course me. So I always, whenever someone brings up Burt Reynolds, I'm like, that guy helped me get my SAG card.
Thank God for his bad back.
Yeah.
His bad back got me. You know what? Yeah. One man's trash is another man's trash.
Exactly. But yeah, my brother very much helped me out. Just when you go to Los Angeles, you're going to this huge city, and like, sure, no one's gonna deliver you the lead in a movie or something, but just to have couple people that that can help you out, you know what I mean? Or not only help you out, but be there for when you get inevitably rejected.
Yeah.
To have dinner that night with or something. That's probably actually, I would say, as important, if not more, than the actual handouts itself.
Yeah. Yeah. That's true. And then a community of guys, like I love the movie Swingers.
Yeah.
Swingers,
of course.
Yeah, Jon Favreau, you guys, it's brilliant. Yeah. Just brilliant. But every time, so we're musicians, but we wound up spending a lot of time in LA just doing whatever.
Yeah.
And mostly drugs, but just, it's just
as one
tends
does
to be. The people there just talked about it incessantly. Like it was everything. Oh, you got an audition? Oh, he's doing a stand-up. Oh, it was so we would go to the Comedy Store and watch the open mic night, which is amazing because it would be someone horrible that people just boo off the stage. And then Pauly Shore or Andrew Dice Clay would come in and warm up for their set but the conversation in there is so cutthroat and so all encompassing, like Actorville. Oh my God. I didn't even want to be in it. And it was exhausting for me. I'm like, holy cow. And here, Slash from Guns N' Roses was peeing next to me at a urinal. And they was there. Everyone was there. It was very intimidating. And I thought, I am so glad I'm a musician because as creepy as the music business is, it's nothing as bad as Hollywood.
You know what's interesting about that though? I go see live music in Nashville. And I see these amazing musicians who are playing for $100 a night. And I'm like, so glad I'm not a musician.
Okay, so there's this is a side story. This kid, my brother and I play these songwriter shows. We travel around the country and play these corporate shows for songwriter events. Yeah. This company, Songwriter City, they book us around. And so we travel a good bit doing these little shows. We never have an open or anything. This kid is playing in Toledo, Ohio. And he's opening for us at a corporate show in a Holiday Inn ballroom. It is the least likely place in the world. I've never heard a voice like it in my entire life. The kid was unbelievable. He's 19 years old and he was like Chris Cornell and Chris Stapleton had a baby. He's that good. So we were like, I need to meet this guy. So we told our booking agent, hey, make sure we get to. Anyway, we brought this kid to Nashville, and we skipped all the people in line that are playing at Broadway and in the airport that are unbelievable. We skipped them in line. He signed a record deal. He's got 2 songs out now with Big Machine Records. He's going to be huge. He's amazing, and he's so great. And we wrote a bunch of songs with him, and it's just fabulous. But I actually had a moment of guilt for all those people that we skipped sitting in that line. And
who, like you said, are great too.
There's so much talent. I walk through the airport in Nashville and be like, God, there's a lot of talent here. And it is just, you know what? Sometimes it's timing, and sometimes it's in Toledo, Ohio. I know it's really hard. Sometimes that was God. There was a lot of godness in that whole bit, but it is a tough thing to go where everyone's in line and just get in line. I'm so bad at that. It's hard for me to even, it's partly why my artist career did not work out. When everyone was doing something, we would have to go do the opposite.
Right. That can be what gets you to skip the line too, is quit standing in line, try another door.
I 100% agree with that. Doing something different. Was that your first speaking line? I mean,
that was my first time like getting a line in a movie.
You say that was your break to like, well, if you got your SAG card, that didn't hurt.
It definitely helped, because then you can go out for bigger auditions and stuff.
Of course, my brother has a SAG card. That's ridiculous.
Yeah.
He said one line in Country Strong and he messed it up.
Oh, nice. It's good country music.
Country music movie.
Country music.
Yeah, it's bad stuff.
Yeah.
But so after you felt like it started happening?
I mean, I wouldn't say started happening, because you do have to go through so much. I would never want it. And I still do, by the way. Like, I never want to misrepresent how hard it is to be an actor on these deals. But that certainly kicked me off. And you got to have something at some point. You got to put something on the resume that isn't just pure lies.
Yeah.
And then
it wasn't look up online and see.
Yeah, exactly. Some provable role that you had. And then it was really, I got to do this TV show for BET called The Quad. Yeah. And I played a football player on that. And I think me being a football player is what ultimately helped me skip the line. And that was really, if there was a break for me, that was definitely, because that got me what was called a series regular, which was a big, check mark in the industry.
I have a few friends that are actors, and you guys can do everything a little bit. Like, you could be
we're masters of none.
Rodeo guy, football player, guitarist, whatever. You just figure it out. It's like I have like 3 or 4 friends that are actors, like good friends, and I'm like, they just do anything. Oh, you need a pool shark? Yeah, check this out. It's like amazing. You have that kind of
I was just gonna say, what the one thing I can't do is play guitar. When I get those auditions and they say play the guitar a little bit at the end, I go, it's not gonna happen, brother.
All that means is when you get that part, you'll be the singer in the band. That'll be even better for you.
Right.
Yeah. So you can't play guitar.
Yeah, I can't.
But it's every actor I know can do a little bit of a lot of things. But there may be one like I can't ride a unicycle, but I can. Yeah, we do.
We definitely can learn quick, I think, because I do think a good actor knows what you need to cheat, basically. How good do I need to be to fake it, basically? And we do get pretty good
with
at
everything.
No, not with everything, but with most things, you do get to a point where you kind of know what a role is going to require, where you go, okay, this role, he's a baseball player, but the only times you ever see him is hitting. So I'm just going to do that for 4 days in a row and perfect, this 5% thing that you need to do. And like, I even remember one time actually for a role where I was supposed to be a musician. I remember in the audition, I had a guitar and I put the guitar in view and I just had my friend teach me 2 chords. And then I cropped myself right here so you couldn't actually see the bottom. You just saw this.
Yeah.
And I did that correctly while I didn't do anything here below. Right. And then I had my friend over playing at the same time so that it sounded right.
Just enough. I was going to say, if you had that, next time you have a guitar audition, I'll teach you the 3 chords you need to play most songs. And it's just a piece of cake. Yeah. Garrett Hedlund, do you know Garrett?
Sure.
So he was in the movie Friday Night Lights with
of course
Tim McGraw, and then he did that movie Country Strong. Mm-hmm. And so we just knew him from being around Tim a little bit. And he's like, I'm going to sing in this movie. So Tim said, why don't you get with Brett and help him teach you how to play harmonica and guitar. We taught him a few chords on guitar. And in 2 weeks, he could sit and play harmonica with a little headpiece and play guitar and sing. I'm like, how fast was that? I mean, it was really quick. I mean, maybe you done a little bit of it before, but
I was going to say, did you have any prior?
I mean, nothing to speak of. I don't, maybe a little bit, but I don't think he. Anyway, maybe he did. Maybe he was sandbagging us a little bit and had been practicing. But he kind of came from nothing. Like pretty good singer, pretty good guitar player. Like fast, and then learned how to play the harmonica in like 2 weeks.
Because he's pretty. I mean, he has full on albums and everything.
Full now,
right?
He's doing, He what is that?
He really pursued
What's the Sylvester Stallone show?
Tulsa King.
Tulsa King. Yeah, he's singing all over that one. Yeah. I'm like,
I could tell he got on that show. I was like, I'll do this show, but you got to let me sing twice an episode.
100%, million%.
I'm like, I know what your writer says, buddy.
This is going to be my soundtrack. So just, exactly.
Yeah, that's funny.
What's the first thing you directed?
Ride.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Ride.
So this is more recent.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, and it really happened a little bit by circumstance. You know, when you have an older brother that's a director in the family, why would I direct anything? You know, I always teed up any script that I had. It was always teed up for him. He was the experienced director in the family. And then we got into a situation in Ride where we had set it up with this distributor, Wellgo USA in Texas. And, but then suddenly my brother had a different movie that he had written that was, you know, very much his passion project that he was already attached to. And then all of a sudden we were like, oh my gosh, we just sold the movie.
We don't have a director.
We don't have a director. Like, we're going to lose it, you know? And I was like, whoa, what if I just put my name on? We're kind of brothers, you know, we got like a brother thing going on.
Just
like
my first name
maybe
really
they
small.
won't quite, we weren't like trying to swindle them or anything, but like, let's just put my name on it until we kind of figure out the schedules and we'll find a better director. And then we'll, you know, we'd rather present to them a different director than say, we're going to go do a search. And so we did that. And then as we searched and as we started preparing, I kind of couldn't help but take on some of the director duties. And the more I did, the more I fell in love with it. And I had a kind of a stranglehold on that script. And it was really hard for me to give it to anybody else, to be honest.
Was there any resistance to you staying on it?
Not really, actually. And I give a lot of people credit for people believing in me. Believing in an actor stepping behind the camera can.
Is the time with your brother, was that super valuable and like kind of knowing the.
Absolutely. Because he had also always let me be a part of that process, like a fly on the wall a little bit. And I think actors are also very lucky. You know, if you grow up and you want to be a director, how do you get on set without directing? Very, very, very hard, you know? There's no reason for a director to be on set if you're not the director. There's only one. And actors are very lucky. And I think that's probably why a lot of actors end up directing, is because we are on set a lot.
Yeah.
And so we're seeing it over and over. Even if we're not doing it, we get that front row type experience to where you're kind of learning through osmosis. You also get to work with a lot of different directors.
See different styles.
So as an actor, I got to sit back on sets where I'm just acting, but I'm interacting with the director every day and I'm seeing how they work or how they don't work.
That's amazing. Yeah.
And it really helps.
Most songwriters were artists at some point with record deals. Most songwriters that I know were artists with record deals at some point. Yeah. Either it didn't work out, which is very common, but also there's just like, it didn't, like my brother and I got sober right when we decided that we were going to be songwriters for a living instead of things synergize or whatever. And I think it's an important element because you're around it. You actually know how an artist looks and thinks. You have some artist relationships. You know what something's going to feel like on stage because you played it now. I also know a few phenomenal songwriters that were never any kind of artists. They just came out of the womb wanting to be poets and songwriters, but it's rare.
Yeah.
It is
interesting.
Like, how do you get on set without?
And are some of those people, do they tend to be people who love music, but maybe don't like the spotlight or don't like the public?
Yeah, it's interesting too what this will do to you.
Performing live of it all.
What happens is you don't like performing live and you don't like the spotlight. You don't like attention, and then you become a great writer. You get a bunch of hits, and you wind up on stage anyway.
Yeah,
you're doing these songwriter events, and you getting and then it's the devil's little stick poke in your ribs, going, hey, check me out over here. So it is hard to tell where people come from. Some people just some of the best songwriters I don't know can't sing. They're great lyricists, or they're great music, whatever it is. It's not
see it though.
It's not totally necessary. So it's an interesting thing that having access to the talent is a lot of the battle.
Yeah, sure.
And then, and then you got to like you said, we're curious. You know what I mean? Or what you got? You're watching the film take place.
Mm-hmm.
If you just show up, are there actors that just like show up and don't even try or have to try, and they just do their thing? Christopher Walken is always the same guy. I love that guy.
Yeah.
Just like, does he study another part? Is he just like he just takes the character, and it feels like they hire Christopher Walken when they hire him?
No, I haven't worked with him, so I couldn't speak to his process or preparation. I definitely think a lot of great actors, because they prepare so hard, that's what allows them to make it look effortless and look easy.
Yeah.
I definitely think when you're working with really experienced actors, they just get to a point where it is a craft for them. The same way the guitar, you just looks like you're not even trying.
He's like an artist, Christopher Walken, but he is kind of the same. Like he's kind of like the Bob Dylan of acting. I do what I do.
Yes.
And what your part is going to fit with what I do, or I'm not going to do.
For sure. That is definitely the way a lot of actors are. For sure.
I like those kind of actors. It's always like, it's just like the quirky. But it's funny that everybody makes it work.
Mm-hmm.
I write a quote for all of my guests. So the quote I have for you is by Ralph Waldo Emerson, and it's, "Life is a succession of lessons which must be lived to understood." And I think why I thought of that, even though I don't know you very well, is that your interest in, well, especially in, we'll talk about clean hands, but in recovery is interesting to me. I love the fact that people are not in recovery that are interested, because we that are in recovery understand that it's usually, normally it saved your life if you're in recovery. Yep. It was going to be bad if you didn't.
Yep.
But it's, I love being around people who are not in recovery that seem to get it. They seem to be interested in it.
Yeah, I don't know if I get it, but I'm searching.
The fact that you say that means you kind of get it.
I was just going to say, I appreciate that, because every time I've gone to, maybe a different AA meeting or a different house that's kind of let me into their doors and let me visit with the groups, I almost always leave going, I got so much more to learn. I thought I had done so much research. I worked so hard. I don't know this anything. For 20 years. And and that's probably the first step in actually knowing something. But yeah, it's something that you see constantly in films. Addicts, alcoholics, AA groups. There's many scenes in movies where they're in an AA group in the circle and all that stuff. And, I constantly see it in story arcs and in characters for things that I had auditioned for. The guy who drinks too much, the alcoholic, the alcoholic father, whatever it is. And sometimes it's done great. Sometimes it's done really poorly. I had a character in the film Ride. My character in that movie was an alcoholic whose father was also an alcoholic. I always say that movie's about 3 generations of bull riders and 3 generations of alcoholics. And it was kind of, that's really what started me off, kind of investigating that world, if you will. My family has some touch points to addiction, and seeing people that I had grown up with that were similar to my age that I'm playing around with as kids, and then teenage years hit and they go one way and I go the other, and I'm hearing things about them and seeing them, and you don't recognize them. Mm-hmm. And you're going, you're not the person I grew up with. Like, I don't see you in your eyes anymore. And as a writer, as an artist, and as a human being, I'm like, I gotta look into that. I have to study that. I have to try to understand it. And that's really what kind of led me down this storytelling path. And that led me to a former police officer named Kevin Simmers, who was a drug cop in Northern Maryland, in Hagerstown, Maryland, for 25 years, and specifically ran a drug task force. And he always says, I was about handcuffs and incarceration. I was a Reagan guy. I believed to win the drug war, we lock up as many junkies as we can. And all the while, he was raising a daughter who was slowly becoming an addict herself, starting with Percocet and eventually becoming a serious, heroin addict. Yeah. And all of a sudden, this guy who bled blue, believed in the badge, believed that handcuffs will solve everything, has to deal with with a daughter in his own home struggling with this. And, as a storyteller, selfishly, I'm like, that's an amazing character struggle. That's an amazing story. That's amazing world cinematically. And then, of course, as an actor, I'm going, oh, wow, this is deep, really complicated material.
By the way, backing up just a little bit, an alcoholic makes a great character. It does. That's why it's not just in movies, not just in TV shows, but in songs. I mean, we write it, all the time. It makes an interesting character.
Yeah.
The problem is we've celebrated it so much and we've interested so much.
Yeah.
Now it's become kind of, especially we went from alcohol. It's become cool, and everyone wants to be James Dean. Everyone wants to be, and now we have drugs that kill people right away. So it's like this thing that kind of has to be addressed. And I love you're starting to take it from different angles. And we all, by the way, I'm a reggae guy too, but we always coming from the same angle all the time.
Yep.
Like, it's like, this works for this. And it's a little more complicated. I mean, the addict mind,
way more complicated.
if it's in the game, it's the winner.
Yeah.
So anyway, keep talking about Kevin, because I think it's a fascinating story.
In his story, all of a sudden he's dealing with this with his own daughter. And, you've got this guy that was addicted to being a cop, but also, in his early years with Brooke, he was a single father. And so they had a really, really special bond, in those kind of single father years before he was remarried. And so I think he was addicted to Brooke, his daughter, as well. And all of a sudden, as of any father, you're going to do anything for your daughter. And he's doing what he needs to do to keep her out of jail. He's at some points doing what he needs to do to put her in jail to try to get her clean. At one point, he's basically using her as his own CI to try to go after her dealers so that when she gets out, the streets are clean, which means she won't be an addict, which we all know is just not, that's just not how it's going to happen.
Yeah.
But, and one of the things that made Brooke so beautiful and so tragic was she always believed, because she had this hero cop for a father, she'd be fine. She's struggling, she's using pills, she's using the needle, but my dad's the Sarge. I'm not gonna overdose. I can't die. You guys might. My dad's Sarge. And that was beautiful, and it made her care more about her friends and her friends in recovery than she did about herself. And one of the things she really wanted throughout her addiction was a place for women that housed just women. A big part of their journey was going to look at these different treatment centers together. And again, all of a sudden, this ass-kicking cop is walking through a 28-day detox place going, what the F? This is recovery? This is a dump. What is this place, Yeah. And he's faced with seeing the recovery world for the first time and from a whole new set of eyes. And, she was all about, man, if I could get clean, my dream would be to open a house for women, just for women to get clean, a palace on the hill, she would call it. And she was struggling, couldn't get clean. Finally, Kevin had her arrested, put her in jail, again, all out of love to try to get her to get clean. And while she was in jail, Kevin said, hey, if you can stay clean for a full year, I'll build you the damn house myself. That'll be our little deal we'll make. She made it 6 months. She was released from prison. She was clean. She was going to go get the Vivitrol shot, the safety net, basically. I'm sure you probably know about it. But the insurance wasn't coming through that Friday afternoon. So he said, that's okay. We'll wait till Monday to get the Vivitrol shot. She disappears that weekend. Is found, I think, 24 hours later. She had driven to the church parking lot where Kevin taught her to play basketball as a kid, parked directly under the hoop, crawled into the backseat and overdosed and passed away. And what made me have to make this movie was that in the wake of that, Kevin and his wife Dana stood back up, which I don't know how you I just don't know how you live after something like that, much less do anything. And they decided to build the house anyway. They went on to build what is today Brooke's house, which has saved hundreds of women off the street and in active addiction. And, he now saves Brooks, one at a time up at this house. He turned in his badge, and it's an amazing.
Our son was clean for almost a year when he, and it wasn't even an overdose. It was fentanyl was in something that which makes it go. And I mean, it's funny, this little like Friday instead of Monday, can that make the difference? And if you don't believe in God, this road is, whoa, I can't even imagine. There's a faith thing that gets you through, because I do believe in that we're going to see him again, and it changes my behavior and how I want to have a good answer to him for what I did with the rest of. That's why we're sitting here, for one thing.
Yeah.
Like, I want to be able to answer the question of what did you do when I left with a good answer, and not, I just sat around and drank myself to death, which actually was kind of what I thought I would do. But another little caveat, it's funny, we were just talking about the James Dean and, but it's not really that way for women too. It sticks with them harder. It's not.
That's a good point.
You don't get.
You don't.
Women addicts don't get he's crazy. Oh, he's a cowboy.
Yeah, what a rebel.
Yeah, what a badass. They don't really get that. So it is really. As you were saying that, it just dawned on me. I'm like, oh, that's really makes this unique, because it is easier for a man to recover, like, socially. Yeah. Emotionally, spiritually.
Stigma of it all.
Like, it's kind of cool. You're an addict. I honestly am very super open about my thing. But if you're a woman and you've been in that, the stigma's harder. And so it's just there's so much amazing in there. How did you wind up here in this story?
I was researching for another film that took place in Appalachia, and also had to do with kind of the fall of coal there and rise of addiction and kind of in its place. Mm-hmm. And I was researching drug task forces. And that led me literally to a YouTube video of Kevin. The Atlantic did a profile on him. And I had kind of made this character in this other movie that was, a task force leader with a child who was an addict. That was something that I just, again, thinking what a good character this would be. And all of a sudden I'm watching this YouTube video going, oh my gosh, this is my character. This is the real guy. And so I sent him a Facebook message about how I was this writer that wanted to tell this movie, and I just wanted to know if I could interview him just for research purposes, just to kind of play consultant for me on this completely other script. And like 6 minutes later, I get a call from a Maryland number, and I was like, oh my God, I'm not ready for that. I'm not ready.
I was thinking in a week or so.
I thought maybe you'd message me back and I'd have a week to prepare and whatever. And Kevin being Kevin, called me immediately, and we ended up talking for like an hour. Just about kind of task forces and just giving me tips and kind of authentic touch points. And then we set up another call, and I could tell, Kevin can't help but tell his story. That's his life now is spreading his story and Brooke's story. And he was like, man, I'll be honest, if you really want to know what this is all about, you got to come here. And I'm enjoying chatting with you and happy to help you with your movie, but I think he also wanted me to make a movie about his story too. I mean, and he knew if I came,
you told me already, you had to.
Oh,
as soon as you heard it, there's no way you couldn't.
And I went there. It was during COVID, so I had no excuse as well. I'm like, I definitely have no excuse to be in Los Angeles here. And so I went there up to Brooke's house in Hagerstown and stayed at one of the transitional houses that he has up there. And he really took me through really Brooke's whole life, but in particular, he took me through kind of the 36 hours that she disappeared in her last weekend. And we kind of he basically walked me through it all. We walked through those last days for her. And,
Can you tell
of course
me about
he
those days?
Yeah, I mean, again, him being a cop, he's kind of, as his daughter disappears, he's looking for her as a dad, but he has all these police resources and a policeman's mind. So he's going to the places where he thinks she might be. He had his police radio, and he's trying to jump calls that he think might involve an addict. So if he hears, hey, we got an OD over at this park, boom, he's beating the paramedics there to see if it's his daughter, and he's going after the police force, trying to get them to look for her, even if they have to arrest her. He's doing everything that he can. And, he ends up kind of he's basically tracking his own daughter. And eventually the police radio got turned off on him. and that silence kicked in, that knowing, that all-knowing silence. And is, when they brought him and his wife to the church parking lot, he always tells me when I showed up, you couldn't see the parking lot. There were so many cops already there. And you just, it's just one of those moments where you know exactly where you're headed, but you still can't be ready for it. As they, kind of work the way through this parking lot of cops, that I always find, again, as a vampire-ish, writer sucking stories out of people. Yeah. I'm going, oh wow, what a parking lot with 100 cops, 100 guns, 100 handcuffs, 100 police cars, steel bars, steel cages, weapons, force, power, muscles. You couldn't save a 19-year-old girl, and that's no disrespect on the police force.
No, that just lets you know how powerless we are over that. That's the microcosm. Yeah. I mean, you really do get it when I talk about it. I mean, we had it, when my wife was pulling up on our son, and I wasn't telling her what happened as she was coming, but she saw an ambulance leaving with its lights off. Yes, it's you have a too big of an imagination to know what happened there. And of course, until it happens, I mean, if you tell, here's the thing about you telling this story, then there's many things about it. But like I have two other dads that are friends of mine, and they lost kids in some sort of alcohol or drug issue. And we'll go talk to these groups of teenage addicts, and we'll tell them our sobriety story. They're both sober, and tell them right there you go. And it's some old guys that made it. Good for you. And then we tell them about our kids. And my buddy always says, I'm not here for you. I'm here for your parents. You know what I mean? I don't want your parents getting the call that I got. I don't want your parents getting the guy at the door with the cop and the guy from the college that are standing at the door. I'm here for them. And like, this isn't, you can no longer, after you hear that story firsthand, separate yourself like it's a movie. Yeah. This happened. Now you know someone it happened to. Like my son died from this. This is not a joke. It's proof. Good times is proof. And it's right there in your face. And the more you tell it, at least people, you can't save everyone. Hell, I don't know if you can save anyone, but you can give people the information. Yeah. And the more you do that, the Dope Sick, it's reminding me of Dope Sick. I think we might have the guy that Michael Keaton played. He might wind up coming on the podcast. That was great. In that. It's so effective. Like when I hear this story, I'm like, people need to hear this stuff, because first of all, it's all slippery slope. I'm all about handcuffs when they're appropriate, but junkies, come on, man. That's not that. If it worked, then it would work, but it doesn't work. It's
what I love about Kevin as well, is to this day, even though he is now, he now drives a like bright red truck with Brooke's house and a red heart, like it couldn't be less of a police car that he drives around and picks girls up and helps them. But like, he still is friends with people in the police. He still bleeds blue. You know what I mean?
Oh, he's still badass. You can tell.
Yeah, it doesn't mean that his whole life was a lie, or that we shouldn't have police anymore. You know what I mean? It's like, I just appreciated that, he has that mindset about him, which
we swing the pendulum to what we have to. I'll be all here, all there. Yeah. I don't subscribe to that much anymore. There are some nuances and things. And if we're not willing, if we haven't changed in 20 years, we're probably pretty useless. Yes. I mean, you got to change. I mean, we have to, we learn. We should be learning. I hope I'm learning all the time. So my opinions towards different things change all the time, hopefully for the better. But when you educate yourself on a subject and you start having empathy for the person doing it, I mean, I don't know how to get it through, but man, young people getting sober, because it starts so early now too. It just seems so lonely. I have a huge community of people, like great friends, absolutely great friends. But I'm old and I've been sober 20 years and I know all these guys and I've helped people get sober. They've helped me stay sober. We're in this thing together. Man, when you're 20 and you're trying to go through it, you're literally, there's like two other. And usually this one guy is just, I can't relate to him because he's schizophrenic, drunk, meth head. And all I am is just a run of the mill pothead cocaine addict or something. Yeah. It's so hard for them to just I get to the point where I look around the room and I can see the similarities instead of always looking for the differences.
Yeah.
Because we all addicts are terminally unique. You know, I am so special.
Right.
And, but being able to educate the younger people, and I would love to find some way. And I think that movies like what you're doing, with Clean Hands are part of that, but getting them to find each other and not in a youth group setting. Nothing wrong with the youth group. Although I have my own issues I grew up in a youth group that horrible things happened in. Yeah. But just something that's just regular kids that can literally talk about addiction. Mm-hmm. I know, I mean, it's AA works for everyone, but getting them together in a way, and it's not a bunch of old people telling them what's cool, letting them decide what's cool.
Because you're not going to tell a kid. You just don't care how you explain it.
Doesn't matter what you do for a living. Kids think you're stupid. To me, it's
To your point though about being proof. I think that's one of the reasons, again, sadly, that Brooke's house works so well. Every time Kevin walks through the house, any girl that's in there sees a dad of a beautiful 19-year-old girl who lost her battle, and it's just living proof. But yeah, I hear you about the youngster groups, and I don't quite know what that answer is either.
I mean, what he's doing is awesome, because that is an answer, and there's never the answer. But getting together, and he helps them get jobs, right? I mean,
a huge part of his house is work programs. It's really, I mean, the house is built on a lot of things, but work programs is his deal, is giving them a job, giving them purpose, giving them identity. It's a big thing that I imagine probably happens in a lot of groups, but they rarely give power to drugs, alcohol in the groups. They rarely talk about the needle or the pills. They're talking about the solution. Yeah. And so Brooke's house has a thrift shop, chocolate shop, coffee shop, junk removal business. Like they run and every time I go there, there's more businesses throughout the town. They're really like
the women
taking
are doing
over.
Junk removal business.
Yes, and they get after it. I got to be honest, because I've been there and I was put on a junk removal business. Let it be known, Kevin, that I did work hard when I was there. But yeah, I mean, these girls. I mean, again, it's kind of the beauty. That's like the beautiful part of recovery. Yeah, is when you get a group of people that have been through hell, and they can come out the other side. Not only can they kick butt in the workforce, but they do it all with a smile, because it's like, I've been in worse than carrying some beds out of a house,
the perspective on that.
Perspective.
We say a lot, you can't think your way into right acting, but you can act your way into right thinking. Like, get out there. I love the movement issue, because there's also guys that are good at being in rehab. They're great at sitting and pontificating about recovery while drinking their coffee and smoking and talking about it. And then there's another level of like, I'm going to have to go out and deal with life and get into this. And the fact that when I saw the trailer of that, and those girls were doing all those businesses and working, I'm like, that's what you have to get out there and live. Yeah. And then let this stop being the defining moment of your life. If you're sitting there with the coffee and the cigarette in the meeting, it's important to be there at the meeting. Yep. But it's still defining you. I love the fact that the meetings are a lot about the solution and not just about the problem. Yeah. We call it a drunkalogue when you just sit around and talk about your old stories. Yeah. And I have some funny stories. Just funny stuff.
You do hear some crazy stories.
I have a book's worth of them myself. Yeah. And I hear just amazing, hilarious ones. But the rubber meets the road when you go out there and get into life. And yeah, there are things that you choose not to do and places you choose not to be and times you choose not to be there. But you do have to live. We have to get in and be part of the world. And I'm never going to sit in a room while somebody's doing blow ever again. That's not going to be my thing. But I'm around alcohol. I have a regular life. I'm around. It doesn't bother me. Although I'm not a big fan of drunkenness, to be honest. It doesn't. There are certain things that change about you, but you can go out and live in the world and just be and here's the funny thing. Everything you do as an addict, if you're in recovery, is a little bit of service work. Because if I'm in a place and everyone's drinking and I'm not drinking, it gives that person that I have not met that's over there, it gives them permission to not drink. Oh, he got through it. That's good. Every meeting I go to, every AA meeting I go to, I'm there. Someone asked me, why do you keep going to the meetings? You've been in there so long. Do you think are you afraid you're going to drink again? I said, no, I'm not afraid I'm going to drink again. for one thing, we have one day at a time. But the other thing is, when I needed to be there, someone was there. If I just stop going and somebody new comes into the room and they walk in and it's empty, like what good is that going to be? So this continues forever. This is part of my life, the rest of my life. And I think it should be for any addict, whatever. And when you put something in process, when I'm almost feel jealous of the people that are in the program like that, because literally you find a purpose in the smallest thing. You find a purpose in the job, waking up without a headache, waking up without having to look over your shoulder and what's going on. There's something amazing about the raw purpose of like the pink cloud, they call it, of new sobriety.
Yeah. I see that with them with these jobs as well, you know, when they're, and again, it's inspiring to me, you know, who's grinding in entertainment and Hollywood and all that stuff. And then you go and you watch, you know, a group of girls that need to clear out, you know, a bunch of cracked, heavy rocks, and they are moving those rocks like their life depends on it, because kind of does, you know, and that purpose of, we got to move that rock from there to there. Okay, let's do it. You know, it's like, it's pretty cool to see something that simple be so driving.
What is that movie? You can cut this out if you want. I have a great idea for you. Might be a terrible idea. What was that movie Frances McDormand was in where she drove around the RV?
Yeah, Nomadland.
Nomadland.
Mm-hmm.
What if you used some of the girls, the ladies, the real ladies at Brooke's house as the ladies in the movie?
Oh, we are.
Oh, you are?
Yeah. We're
I told you it was a good idea.
Yeah.
It was so good, it was obvious.
For sure. Oh my God, it's a huge part of it. I really believe in, if you're going to make a movie for a community, you should make it with that community. Oh, that's cool. You know, and that that just helps my movie be better anyway.
Yeah.
I always say, people are like, it's so nice of you. I'm like, yeah, I'm also selfish and I want the movie to be authentic and good, you know? But yeah, I mean, we have, you know, some girls working in the art department on the film. And just to be around it, we're going to get interviews with them that we're going to use throughout the movie. Cause there's a part in the film and in her story when she was going to a weekly drug class. You know, so I plan on having real girls in recovery sitting in the class and telling their story, as opposed to. Are
you acting in this movie?
I'll just be directing. Yeah.
Is that new?
That would be new for me. And to be honest, it's a bit strange, even though it's less work technically. You know, I'm doing one less job. I'm so used to doing that job.
Yeah.
That was always my way in for everything. Acting was always my way into this work.
Yeah.
It's taken me a minute to kind of like figure out.
It's very
how to do it when I'm not acting. You know what I mean?
Like I'm really like an adult with a job.
I know. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's strange. But I do think it was the right move for this movie. The movie is so, I mean, this is a true story, you know, and that's brand new for me, brand new territory to tell a movie about, you know, a couple and a group of people and a person that's passed away. And, you know, there's a lot of weight that comes with that and beautiful responsibility that I figured it was probably in my best interest to just direct this one.
You know, I just first of all, I just saw the scene that's watching the trailer for it, but just hearing your version of the story, I mean, it's important. I know I have a special, you know, story, relationship with this story, but it's compelling. I mean, the main thing. Okay, so people always say, "What is your job?" You know, I'm writer, songwriter, and our job is to push a button. It's to push a button. Sometimes it's a funny button, sometimes it's the love button, sometimes it's the drunk button, sometimes it's sad, happy. Yeah. So you try to push a button. Like, how important is it for you when you're making a movie? Especially acting is kind of your hired guy, but when you're directing a movie, and I know that this is newish for you, and you're really very young, especially with a shaved mustache, you're very young. But how important is it for you to do something that pushes that button versus the eventual financial outcome? You know what I mean? That's obviously like the Avengers doesn't push a button with me.
Yeah, it's a tough balance, because if you want to keep pushing the button, you got to service everybody else. You know, yeah. And
cheers, man.
Yeah, it's the great, you know, double-edged sword that is particularly indie filmmaking, I think.
Well, also when you do something big, it pushed a button most of the time, unless Taco Bell just you know, sent the cups to everyone or whatever. But you push some button.
For me, what I believe in and maybe this is just because it's kind of what I'm maybe good at. And so I've doubled down on it. But the more micro I can get with touching the button just for you, if I'm just trying to make a movie for you or just making it for me, I actually feel that's what people all around the world can end up connecting to. Whether you're a parent of an addict or just a parent of a 16-year-old who's, wants to go on a date for the first time, or, you know what I mean? You end up touching people when you get really, 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 really micro. I feel like if you try to make a movie for everybody, a lot of times nobody cares.
I couldn't possibly agree more.
Yeah, I found that with Ride, with making a very microscopic movie about a small town in Texas about bull riding. I mean, that's a very narrow window, but the more I just made it, about this one family, the more families all over the country, whether they enjoyed rodeo or, had rural roots or not, all of a sudden took an interest in it.
Because everyone doesn't have a rodeo, but everyone has a family.
Exactly.
And especially if it's screwed up, most people. Yeah.
Yeah. Not everybody's a cop. Not everyone's a cop with an addict for a son or daughter. Like, obviously there aren't going to be that many people that are like, oh my God, that's my exact life. Hopefully not.
Yeah. Hopefully not, but everyone I know knows an addict because they know me. You know what I mean? So everyone knows an addict if you're old enough.
Yeah. And
recovering or not recovering or active, young, old, but.
And I've yet to share the script or the story with anybody that didn't go, oh yeah, my cousin. Oh yeah, my sister's husband. Oh yeah, it's gotten too rampant. I really connected with what you said too about the speed of addiction now. One of the counselors at Brooke's house, I remember early on, told me, what used to take someone 6 years, like the size of addiction that used to take 6 years for someone to create in their body, is now taking 6 days. And when they said that, that was a very scary thing to hear.
It's terrifying. You used to get 40 years to fix your alcohol problem. And then you got 20 years to fix your cocaine problem and 10 to fix your heroin problem. But you get 30 minutes to fix your fentanyl problem. It's over so fast. And,
that's serious.
However and wherever it came in, I mean, it would be. I'm all for doing whatever is necessary to keep fentanyl from coming into this country. But man, also just to keep the kid. I don't know how you get in talks. I didn't have sense as a kid. I didn't have sense as a young adult.
Yeah.
Hell, I didn't have sense in my 30s until I, got in. It is crazy to think of the things that I literally did in my own body. How on earth could I try to convince a 19-year-old who's having a great time at the moment to do that? I don't know what the answer is, but I do know that we're supposed to keep trying. And your film is absolutely one of those things.
And I firmly believe if you do all this work and you only save one person's life, that's a miracle.
Whoever that person's father or mother are very grateful for that. Thank you.
It's amazing. If you can save one person's life in your lifetime, you've done an amazing thing. A part of what got me onto this as well. Hope I can say this too. But I used to date an FBI agent, and she worked in fentanyl, and they had a bust, and they saved a kid's life at this bust. And she was so happy. It was a huge moment in her life, her personal life, her career, obviously. And then I think, the news had come out online, and she got bashed for it because people were ultimately saying, well, one person, whatever, fentanyl's killing thousands, or you guys aren't doing anything. And yes, fentanyl is a massive, massive problem. And no, that raid or that bust didn't stop the fentanyl crisis in the world. But she saved a human being's life. You're really not going to respect that? You really, and I remember telling her that because she was, of course, super down. I was like, I've never saved someone's life, Well,
you might have.
Let's hope so.
When we started this podcast, which is absolutely something that was not interesting to me, I'm like, no, I'm not. I don't want to. And Matt I met him in Austin at a backstage in a catering tent, and we started talking, and he brought up he needed to do a podcast on grief. I'm like, oh, that just sounds really miserable. Talking about it, and we all just between Michelle and Lisa and Matt, as we talked about it, we're like, that was our life. If you save one person's life, and it really and truly, you don't even know if you're saving that person's life because you could change the dialogue for this person who could change the dialogue for that person,
Yep.
who could be raising this person down the road and save a life in 40 years that you never knew of.
Yeah.
I mean, you just never know what the what the ripple is to doing that. And I mean, if we stop trying that, then we are very screwed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the point.
Yeah. And I guarantee you the family from that one person at your FBI friend's raid was pleased with that.
Yeah. Changed their whole world forever.
Well, I can't save everyone, so why even try? That is a dangerous spot for us to get to.
Yes. I very much agree with that.
And at the same time, some days you have to write Red Solo Cup because, I mean, it's like at some point you're going to be playing a superhero. You're going to remember this talk and go, I get to do this so that I know. Yeah,
I know. It has made, once you get on to this, storytelling with purpose, whatever you want to call it, it does. I'd be curious your thoughts on this as a songwriter, but it does get harder and harder to go back to, paying the bills, if you will. Sometimes it can be even better when I go do a job now on a TV show, network show that's maybe a little simpler and doesn't have the weight of these stories. Sometimes I'm like, oh, this is so nice for a couple days. Just
probably need to
this
clear
is
the
what
palate.
You need me to say? Cool.
Yeah.
Sounds good. Where do you need me to stand? But then there are other times where I'm like, what's the point? I'm doing something that I really, really care about over here. I need to get back there. People need me.
I think that's a great point. I think as a creator of whatever it is, if you're going to do it for a living, you got to be able to do both. Because like you just said, sometimes you just need to clear the palate. Like I can't, everything can't be heavy. As a matter of fact, some of our favorite songs we've written have some addiction element in them, but they haven't become hits. I've not paid the bills with music that necessarily, we typically write fiction. It's part of that thing. But I do believe that who you really are seeps into more of your work as you get older. So there's an element of a guy that's been through some shit and come out the other side, who still loves God but isn't so dogmatic about it or whatever it might be. Whatever it is, that person that I become more shows up a little bit more often in what I'm doing, and there's a little bit less just complete fluff. At the same time, I'm like you. Sometimes it's nice to just go in and just some days we're like
some fun.
Last week we were out in Texas with our friend Red Akins. We're sitting in this dressing room getting ready to play a songwriter show, and we're like, let's write a song in 20 minutes right before we go out here, and we're going to play it for these people. And it was in San Angelo, Texas, and we wrote a song in 20 minutes. We'd if a line made too much sense, we moved on because we wanted to just stream of consciousness. Simple. And we mentioned San Angelo in the song. We went out and played it for these people, and they went completely nuts. I think the song's getting recorded, which lets me say sometimes we are working way too hard as creators of art. And we become crafters, and we're in there today. We've whittled away so much wood, there's nothing left to make a cowboy out of.
Yeah. Gosh, I totally agree with that. And as a storyteller or a songwriter, you are trying to boil, like you said, you're trying to push a button. Yeah. And usually that can be boiled down to one word, San Angelo,
We overshoot it all the time.
I know.
And I mean, you're so young, you got a lot of both left in you. That'll be, and I hope you're one of the Super Friends or whatever, the Avengers, the next time that's one. It's great. And there's the great actors doing it. And I want to write hits for Morgan Wallen. It's funny, we wrote with Morgan Wallen before he ever became famous. And, he's great talent. He always was, but we got no idea what it was going to be. Catching lightning in a bottle is literally catching lightning in a bottle. So those big ones, I don't know if we can predict them, but just like you said, keeping if you want to keep doing this, you got to keep doing all of it. Yeah. One of the things I think is important and I love about you is whatever you do take the time to do this project when it presents itself. And then sometimes you're just paying the bills, and sometimes you just see what happens because you're. I talked to Amy Grant on this podcast this morning, and she's just a yes person. She just says yes all the time. She was telling her story. I'm like, oh my God, you just say, yeah, okay. Yeah. And there's something amazing about that because I'm always analyzing it. Is this good for me? Is this good use of my time? I'm actually kind of tired, flying a lot that week. Whatever goes into it, she just goes, okay. Yeah. For whatever.
There's worse ways to live than that.
40 years and what an amazing career. And I'm I'm going to try to be more of a yes person. It's funny too. This also, I'll get into that and also I'll be like, I got to start saying no to shit.
Right.
I don't know. But I do.
Tough line.
Hey, it's like everything in this life. The truth is in the crevices or whatever. But being your age, not being an addict, having obviously your crap together in so many ways, and taking this interest in the story, I think is fascinating.
We're all addicted to something, man. And again, like the more I've learned about addiction, it's not about a bottle or pills. It's almost always in here. And we all have something imperfect going on in here. So we can all relate to that struggle, I think. And I certainly found myself, I remember the first time I sat in the circle at Brooke's house. They have this great kind of fire pit in the backyard. And they were all like, Jake, if you're going to sit around and listen to us, you're going to have to share too. And I was so nervous, mostly because I felt like such a fraud. Like,
intruder.
Intruder. Like, what are my issues? Come on. Especially some of these girls that have faced some of the things they've faced. It's like, I felt like such a joke. But it's like, and what's one of the things I loved about them was like, when I did finally share my, terrible, Hollywood's so hard and sometimes people say no to me. It's like they weren't like judging me. They genuinely were like, oh gosh, that would suck. Like, so you do these auditions and then you put your heart out there and just no one responds? Gosh, that'd be really hard. I was like, thanks.
Yeah,
it is.
You will never find a more accepting group of people than a recovery meeting.
Yeah.
It's the people that have been through hell. What is I say? The recovery is for people who have been through hell, and religion is for people trying not to go. You know what I mean? It's just different to me. It's my church.
Yeah,
and there you go. That's free of charge. I just love they're so excited. And by the way, because everyone's story is different, I used to go in and be like, she's worse than me. He's not as bad as me. It doesn't matter.
Yeah,
it doesn't matter. Everybody's got their thing. And so it's the most accepting group of people I've ever been in. It's what every church should be. And when you get into a good recovery meeting, and I mean, you talk about people rooting for each other and no BS and no attitude. And, no one's looking and judging everybody's car as they're leaving. And you know what I mean? It's just very real.
Yeah. Which can be, and I wonder, again, I think too of like, why have I gone down this road so hard and trying to learn about that world and tell stories from that world? And I think a part of it is in working in entertainment, you do see a lot of judging, checking out how people are doing in the other lane in the same race. You're going, how's their race going? A lot of looking over your shoulder, what's on the other hill, judging people, looking at people's car, like at the Hollywood party, you're talking to somebody, but your eyes are over there, so much of that. There's got to be something
more important than this guy to talk to.
Yeah. And kind of, for lack of a better term, fake stuff. And I go to Brooke's house.
That's awesome.
I go write stories about real people, real places, particularly in the United States. I mean, I'm a patriot. I want to tell stories about our country. And I tend to find, again, you're talking about that hard pendulum swing. And I do want to find that part in the middle, because I either find movies that are, particularly kind of in the rural community or the Reds or middle America, I tend to find people in that community are either really cliched and written poorly and not real at all, or almost overly perfect and overly virtuous and all that, which I'm like, I grew up around cowboys. They're kind of assholes sometimes. That's not right. That's not real, and then you see the other side too, where I'm like, oh gosh, every time the person from the small town in the South is an a-hole racist, like that's not true either. What the heck? Where's the real,
Yeah.
And so I would love to be the type of storyteller that helps bring those stories to the surface, whether it's a rodeo town in Texas, a small town, East Coast town, riddled with the opioid addiction.
That's why the true stories are so good, because the truth is usually that there's both and there's neither. Now, it's very, most people I know are good people, and they're all flawed as they can be.
Yep.
Like super, extremely flawed. Not trying not to be, but the fact that you will chase down these stories that are real and about real people. You can't help but relate. And you know what's funny about the micro thing? That Matt, I used to say, if you're trying to please everyone, you please nobody.
Absolutely.
But if you
that must be true in songwriting too, by the way, I bet.
I don't know. Everyone, I'm not the most successful songwriter in the world, but I've had enough to be around the most successful songwriter in the world. Yeah. And I know that what we've had, it's hard to predict what it's going to be, but the great songwriters, not the most successful. And I'm not saying, I'm not thinking of anyone in particular, but the great songwriters and they do come to my mind, absolutely write for themselves.
Yeah.
They write about themselves. They write what they know, not in a narcissistic way, but they write the story they know because it's their story, and they write something that means something to them, that's true to talent. My friend Tom Douglas, who may be the best songwriter I've ever sat in a room with, he writes his story over and over and over, and he's in the Hall of Fame for it.
Boom.
Just because the truth is always stranger than fiction.
Yeah.
It's more
and the truth always works too.
Yeah.
The truth always pushes the button.
Yeah. Even, everybody's story is interesting. If you get down into it deep enough, everybody's story is just wild.
Right.
It's just life is wild. It's amazing we're not all dead all the time. The fact that we can live at all, it should be more fascinating than.
Yeah.
Well, man, I got a question I ask everyone before we go. It's a 2-part question. It's what is the worst thing that's ever happened to you? And what is the best thing that came out of that?
What's the worst thing that's ever happened to me?
And what's the best thing that came out of that?
I'm trying not to think too hard about it, but that's a big question.
Take your time.
My senior year of college, playing football, I knew I wasn't going to go to the NFL. I knew my time was over at the end of the year. But I got a concussion in my second to last game and couldn't play in my last game of my career. So my last play, I was knocked completely unconscious. See, it's concussions.
Can't even say unconscious. I'm sorry.
And so my whole life, all I'd been was a football player. It's all I cared about. It's all I loved. And all of a sudden it was taken from me. Even though I only had one game left, it was taken before I.
Not on your terms.
I was supposed to have one more game. And the world said, no, you don't. You're done right now, actually. And I've never been able to shake the feeling of unfinished business there, and unfairness from the world, I would say. And, it put in me a sense of like, did I give it my all? Did I leave something on the field ultimately? Did I come up short? And so I struggle, like, as an actor, if you ever want to push my button as an actor, you go into kind of like, let's talk about your time playing college football. I'm like immediately like uncomfortable. And so I would say probably that was the worst thing, because I think it will just ultimately stick with me forever.
You can't really go back and fix it.
Exactly. And I have nightmares. I have football. If I ever have nightmares about whatever's going on in my career, my personal life, whatever, they always come through in football form. I'm always in the football locker room, on the football field, or playing football while it happens. It's like, tells me a lot about what still sits in there. So that would be the worst. And then what was the second part? What's the best thing that came from it?
From that, yeah.
Anybody who says, I work really hard, I giggle at, because you don't work as hard as me. And I hear people that work really hard that are like, well, gosh, I was just working so hard. I'm like, no, I work harder than you. I know it. And I'm willing to as well, I think. And because I have this feeling that is probably unfair to myself, but I have this feeling that I didn't do everything I could with football. I left a little bit on the bone. Leads me everything I do now. In the back of my head, I'm like, you better not leave anything on the bone, because you might get a concussion and never do this again. So you better go all in. And that ultimately has given me a great drive that I sometimes probably have to go easier on myself with, to be honest. While it's a positive thing of, like you said, what's the best thing that's come from it? It's this hard work ethic. Yeah. I probably have to, if there's a next step in my recovery, it's
therapists
chill out,
have
man.
a heyday with you in your 40s, but don't go until your mid 40s because you got some good work to do.
Exactly.
I mean, it's funny, the motivator, I can go back to Earth. I'm so grateful to there's a handful of people that had some snide remark about my brother, like, oh, they're never gonna, you can't do this, or you're not gonna do this, or everyone's good but you, or whatever it was. I'm so grateful for that. Because my best motivator is someone saying you can't do that. It was always,
watch me.
I will say this, as you get older, and you will, I've come to peace with the things that didn't happen, and at peace with whatever's gonna happen.
Serenity prayer, man.
Yeah. My wife just got me that for our anniversary.
It's awesome.
But I do appreciate the drive that comes from unfinished business, the drives, not this time. There's good and I recognize balance as I'm swinging past it. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. It's like balance seems like a good idea.
Yeah. And it's something it was one of the first things that I really connected with people in recovery about, because while my addiction or what I'm chasing, might not be a actual high, I do have that sense of more. I need more. I need more. I need more.
When you get on set and you're making a movie, and especially directing, 24/7?
Yeah.
24/7. I can imagine that is absolutely all encompassing. You don't even really have time to have dinner with someone. Just, you're always.
You can never go to bed right after when you get home, even from a 15-hour day or some crazy long work day. You come home and you got to chill out. You got to
getting off the stage.
You got to come down a little bit.
Yeah.
I bet. I bet so.
Yeah.
Very, very similar. And once you have that high, then the next time you need a little more. You need a little bigger movie. You need a little more,
have a little more to do with it.
Right. Exactly.
Put a little more time in because you might not make it perfect. Mm-hmm. Yeah, this is going to be interesting. I can't wait to watch your career after this.
Yeah. Thank you.
Therapist on speed dial. No, it's good, but recognizing it is the thing. But I admire, man. I have some friends that are just the highest of high achievers. I mean, the highest of high achievers. And I respect them. But at some point in this journey or whatever, I had to go take a breath. Still, I love to work, but it doesn't define me anymore. And that was good because for a long time, and not mean it just defined me, I got to be the most successful, but just like literally like I don't own a tie. I haven't worn a tie in 15 years. I haven't worn a belt in 15 years. I go to nice dinners. I just don't. It's like, I am very much like, it's so all that, like it's all encompassing who you are. Well, a lot of that is just fallen off of my person. I don't have a specific set of, this is how I have to do something. Mm-hmm. That comes with age, but there is a young drive that just gets you to where you need to go. And
sure.
You're such a balanced guy from everything I can see. The Silvas think the world of you, my good friends that hooked us up, and Sean and Shannon, and when you're young, it's hard to have the perspective that you have. Most people are doing what you're doing without the knowledge that it could eventually be a problem that I can't get off this roller coaster.
Yeah.
And the fact that you recognize that it's there.
Because you look back and you go, man, what do I really have but the memories and the time and the experiences, You got to be careful. And especially as an artist, I'm sure a songwriter, you'd feel this way too. I do my best work. When I really look at when I've done my best work as an actor or a writer, it's when I was out living. That's when I was experiencing and enjoying my life. People always say with actors, you go on a trip, you go have a vacation, you go see your family, you go visit a place like Brooke's house, or you go do something that's a really true experience. You come back, even though you haven't been in acting class or even though you haven't been grinding, you come back and you have that first audition, book it. Because you're just full of life and energy and experience. You know what I mean? You're in a good 100%. Place. And I feel the same with writing, where I'm like, I write so much better scripts if I go out on a trip and I go live with the community that I'm writing about, or I'm like out experiencing life, and then I go home and write at night or in the morning. my script is actually much better than if I just
100%.
lock myself in a room and put in more hours. And that's what takes a little time to learn for someone who,
I mean, it's
wants to
almost
work
like
hard and
measure
everything.
twice, cut once if you go out there and live, because we do more. Tim McGraw was our publisher for a while, back when we were like 20 years ago or 15. But he said to us at some point, he goes, "You're starting to write songs about songs. Go to Europe." Like, he said, literally sent us to Europe. He's like, you need. And he said, when you're writing too much, you're writing too many songs. You're just writing songs about songs. Go out and live. And man, we came back and just went on a tear of original, different stuff. But breaking it up and getting out there and living, literally. And it's funny, this kid that I was talking about that we found in the Holiday Inn in Toledo, Ohio. His name's Preston Cooper. And if we hadn't been out traveling at that place that night, we wouldn't have run into him. Like, action begets action. Activity begets activity.
Yeah.
I'm a total fan of that. And then at the same time, there's times to be still. And I got to learn when the smart times are to be still and when to get out there and get after it. And
Those are wise words about you're writing songs about songs. I mean, I can relate to that again, even though I'm not a songwriter.
Nothing less compelling than like Get Shorty. There's some movie about actors. Yeah. And by the way, it was critically acclaimed because all the actors loved it. And it got all the press in the world, but fans didn't really care. Right. Because you're just writing about yourself. Right. You know, it's, there's we've actually had a hit about a song about a song. It happens every now and then, but you do get to the point where you're just writing the same stuff over. Yeah. Well, you're an inspiration to me of what's coming up in young talent and filmmaking and thanks for being here. Welcome to Nashville. Do you like Nashville?
I love it. Honestly, I keep telling people my only regret is I didn't do it earlier. And to be honest, I mean, for what we were just talking about, Nashville for me is the perfect example of, I always thought, well, the only way I'd have the most success is if I stay in LA and I stay close and I stay locked in my apartment there and I just grind. And the more I came to Nashville and was like, I'm just actually like really enjoying my life out there. And turns out I'm doing my best work there and I'm meeting people I've had more success in Hollywood since I moved to Nashville.
Yeah, that's why I got an airplane. It's really easy to get there. Yeah, you can be there tomorrow if you need to be. Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah. So I've loved it here.
That's awesome. Well, I'm glad you're here. And thank you for the work that you're doing. I think it's amazing. And you're a great young talent. I appreciate you coming.
Thanks, man. I still want to come back on here with Kevin if you'll have me twice.
Well, that'd be great.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Or I'll just let you guys have a conversation.
Yeah,
with Kevin. Awesome. I don't know if you have space for two. Yeah. Just let him roll.
Just let him roll. We'll just put the camera on Kevin. Yeah. No, I'd love to do that. That'd be awesome.
That would be great. You guys would have an amazing conversation.
Yeah, I'm sure.
That would be really
unfortunately,
special.
we have a lot in common, but there's always a great conversation to be had in that. Awesome.
Cool.
All right, man. Appreciate you.
All right.
Thank you, Jake.
Thanks, man. Appreciate you.
Thank you for tuning in. As always, the Good Grief, Good God show is brought to you in loving memory of Sage Warren.